It was a quiet Friday evening at home, the kind where the world outside seemed to melt away, leaving only the soft, comforting hum of silence wrapping around me like a warm blanket. I had been looking forward to this night all week, a rare chance to unwind after endless days of deadlines and exhaustion. Lisa, my wife of 7 years, had gone out to meet a friend, or so she'd said, leaving me alone with the promise of solitude I'd been craving. I sank into the plush cushions of our couch, a glass of whiskey in hand, the amber liquid catching the dim glow of the living room lamp. The faint ticking of the clock on the wall was the only sound, steady and rhythmic, marking the passage of time as I tried to let the stress of the week slip away. But as the minutes stretched into hours, that sense of peace began to fray. I found myself glancing at the clock more often than I wanted to admit, my eyes darting to its glowing digits, 9:47, then 10:15, then 10:43. Lisa had said she'd be home by 10, and though I told myself she was just caught up in conversation, a knot of unease started to tighten in my chest. It wasn't like her to be late without a text or a call. I tried to shake it off, sipping my drink and flipping through channels on the TV, but the quiet I'd once welcomed now felt oppressive, pressing down on me like a weight I couldn't shift. Over the past few weeks, I'd noticed something shifting between us. It was subtle at first, a hesitation in her laugh, a flicker of distraction in her eyes when we talked, the way she'd linger by the door with her phone before stepping out. We'd been together for over a decade, married for 7 of those years, and I'd always trusted her implicitly. She was my anchor, the one constant in a life that sometimes felt like it was spinning out of control. But lately, that trust had started to erode, replaced by a nagging doubt I couldn't fully explain. I'd chalked it up to my own paranoia, a byproduct of long hours at work and too little sleep, but now, sitting alone in the stillness, that doubt grew louder, more insistent. When I finally heard the faint click of the front door at 11:12, my head snapped up, a mix of relief and apprehension flooding through me. Lisa stepped inside, and for a moment, I forgot everything else. She looked stunning. Her dark hair fell in loose waves over her shoulders, catching the light in a way that made it shimmer, and she was dressed in a sleek black dress that hugged her curves, paired with heels I hadn't seen her wear in months. It wasn't the kind of outfit you threw on for a casual night with a friend. She looked like she'd been somewhere special, somewhere intentional. My stomach twisted as I took her in, that unease I'd felt all night sharpening into something I couldn't ignore. "Hey," I said, forcing a smile as I stood from the couch, setting my glass down on the coffee table. "You're later than I expected. How was your night?" My voice was light, casual, but I could feel the tension creeping into it, betraying the calm I was trying to project. She kicked off her heels by the door, offering me a smile that didn't quite reach her eyes. "It was fun," she said, her tone clipped and vague as she shrugged off her coat. "Just lost track of time, I guess." She moved past me toward the kitchen, her steps quick, almost hurried, like she didn't want to linger in my gaze. I followed her, my curiosity piqued, trying to keep the conversation flowing. "Oh yeah? What did you and Sarah get up to?" I leaned against the counter, watching as she filled a glass with water from the sink, her back to me. Sarah was her usual alibi, her best friend since college, the one she'd always meet up with when she needed a night out. But something about the way Lisa hesitated before answering set my nerves on edge. "We just hung out," she said, taking a sip of water, still not turning to face me. "Talked about work, caught up. You know, the usual." Her words were flat, rehearsed, and when she finally glanced at me, her eyes darted away too quickly, like she was afraid I'd see something she didn't want me to. I pressed further, unable to stop myself. "Where'd you go? That new wine bar downtown? You're dressed up more than usual." I gestured toward her outfit, keeping my tone playful, but my pulse was starting to race. I wanted her to laugh, to brush it off, to give me something concrete that would quiet the storm brewing in my head. She shifted uncomfortably, setting the glass down with a soft clink. "Yeah, something like that," she muttered, brushing a strand of hair behind her ear. A nervous habit I'd seen 1,000 times. "I'm tired though. Long day. I think I'm just gonna head to bed." Before I could respond, her phone buzzed on the counter where she'd left it, the screen lighting up with a notification. I shouldn't have looked. I knew it even as my eyes flicked toward it, but the temptation was too strong. The message preview was brief, but it hit me like a punch to the gut. "Can't wait to see you again tomorrow. Tonight was amazing." No name, just a number I didn't recognize. My breath caught in my throat, and for a moment the room seemed to tilt around me. Who's that? I asked, my voice coming out sharper than I'd intended, cutting through the silence like a blade. I pointed at the phone, my hand trembling slightly as the words sank in. Lisa froze, her eyes widening as she followed my gaze to the screen. Her face drained of color, and for a heartbeat she didn't say anything. The air between us grew thick, heavy with unspoken truths. It's nothing, she stammered finally, reaching for the phone, but I stepped closer, blocking her path. Tonight was amazing doesn't sound like nothing, I said, my tone rising despite my efforts to stay calm. Who is it, Lisa? Who's texting you about tonight? My heart was pounding now, a wild rhythm that drowned out everything else. Anger and fear coiled together in my chest, feeding off each other as I waited for her to answer. She opened her mouth, then closed it again, her hands fidgeting at her sides. It's just a friend, she said weakly, but the lie was so thin I could see right through it. Her eyes glistened with unshed tears, and I knew, before she even said it, I knew. Tell me the truth, I demanded, stepping closer, my voice low and unsteady. Right now. Who is it? The silence stretched out, suffocating until she finally broke. Okay, she whispered, her voice trembling as she looked down at the floor. It's someone I've been seeing. It didn't mean anything, I swear. It just happened and I didn't know how to stop it. Her words tumbled out in a rush, desperate and fragile, like she was trying to convince herself as much as me. I stared at her, the woman I'd loved for over a decade, and felt something inside me crack. Didn't mean anything? I repeated, incredulous, my voice rising. You've been sneaking around behind my back. And it didn't mean anything? How long, Lisa? How long have you been lying to me? She flinched at the edge in my tone, wrapping her arms around herself as if to shield herself from the fallout. A few weeks, she admitted, her voice barely audible. It started as, I don't know, just talking. But then it turned into more, and I didn't know how to tell you. I didn't want to hurt you. Hurt me. I laughed bitterly, the sound harsh even to my own ears. You think this doesn't hurt? Finding out like this from some random text? Who is he, Lisa? Tell me who he is. Before she could answer, the doorbell rang, a sharp, jarring sound that cut through the tension like a knife. We both froze, staring at each other as the chime echoed through the house. My pulse spiked, a surge of adrenaline flooding my system as I moved toward the door, Lisa trailing behind me, her breath hitching. I yanked the door open and found myself face to face with Mark, one of Lisa's co-workers. He was tall, broad-shouldered, with an easy smile that faltered the moment he saw my expression. He was holding a jacket, Lisa's jacket, I realized with a sickening jolt. The one she must have left behind somewhere. Hey man, he said, his voice uncertain. Lisa forgot this at the bar. Thought I'd drop it off. The bar. Not Sarah's place. Not a friend's house. The pieces clicked together with brutal clarity, and I felt the blood drain from my face. I turned to Lisa, who was standing behind me, her eyes wide with panic, her lips parted as if she wanted to say something but couldn't find the words. Mark, I said, my voice dangerously calm as I looked back at him. You're the one she's been seeing, aren't you? His confusion shifted to realization, then to dread, as he glanced between me and Lisa. Wait, what? I didn't, he started, but I cut him off, stepping closer, my fists clenching at my sides. Don't lie to me, I snapped. She just admitted it. How long have you been screwing my wife? Lisa grabbed my arm, her voice breaking. Stop it, please. It's not his fault. I'm the one who messed up. I'm so sorry, I didn't mean for any of this to happen. Mark took a step back, raising his hands defensively. Look, I didn't know she was going to tell you tonight. I didn't mean to, I thought. He stopped, clearly flustered, his face flushing as he realized there was no way to talk himself out of this. I turned to Lisa, my anger boiling over. You thought what? That I'd never find out? That you could just keep this going behind my back forever? My voice cracked, raw with the betrayal that burned through me. 7 years, Lisa. 7 years, and this is what you do. She crumpled then, sinking onto the edge of the couch, her face in her hands as sobs shook her shoulders. I hate myself for it, she choked out. I didn't want to lose you, I still don't. It was a mistake, A stupid, terrible mistake. Mark shifted awkwardly by the door, clutching the jacket like a lifeline. I should go, he muttered, his voice tight. I'm sorry, man. I'll just go. You need to leave, I said, my gaze locking onto his. My tone was steady now, cold and resolute, and he didn't argue. He set the jacket on the floor and backed out, the door clicking shut behind him with a finality that echoed in the room. I turned back to Lisa, who was still crying, her mascara streaking down her cheeks. The sight of her, so broken, so vulnerable, should have softened me, but all I felt was a hollow ache where my trust used to be. How did this happen? I asked quietly, sinking into the armchair across from her, my hands resting on my knees. How did we get here? She looked up at me, her eyes red and pleading. I don't know, she whispered. Work's been stressful and you've been so busy and I felt alone. He was there and it started as nothing, just talking, venting. But then it turned into something else and I didn't stop it. I should have stopped it. I nodded slowly, processing her words, the sting of them cutting deeper than I'd expected. You could have talked to me, I said, my voice low. You could have told me you were feeling that way. Instead, you chose him. I know, she said, her voice breaking again. I know I messed up. I don't expect you to forgive me, not right away, maybe not ever. But I love you. I've always loved you. I lost myself for a while. The room fell silent again, the weight of her confession settling over us like a fog. I leaned back in the chair, staring at the ceiling, my mind racing with 1,000 conflicting emotions. Anger surged through me, hot and fierce, but beneath it was something else, relief, strange and bittersweet. The truth was out now, no more shadows to chase, no more doubts to gnaw at me in the dark. It hurt like hell, but at least I knew. We need to face this together, I said finally, my voice steady despite the storm inside me. I don't know what that looks like yet, whether we can fix this, or if I can ever trust you again. But running from it isn't going to help either of us. She nodded, wiping her eyes with the back of her hand. I'll do whatever it takes, she said softly. Therapy time, anything. I just don't want to lose you. I didn't respond right away, letting her words hang between us. The path ahead was a mess of uncertainty, pain, anger, maybe even healing if we could find a way through. But in that moment, as I looked at her tear-streaked face, I knew one thing for sure. Confronting the truth, no matter how ugly, was the only way forward. Whether it led to reconciliation or goodbye, I couldn't say. All I could do was take a deep breath and step into the unknown, one shaky, determined step at a time.